Hey, welcome back everyone. I want to do a quick video of me unboxing a rifle. I just got back from the Davis Brothers auction. This is an auction house based in Missoula, Montana, and this is actually the first time I've ever purchased anything from an auction house. Wanted to go through my experience, show you what I actually got, which is a 1918 Lithgow, and some of my experiences, frustrations, and first reactions to purchasing a firearm from an actual auction. So this was the March of 2024 Historical Rarities of the Northwest Coast auction. This was not just firearms, but it had a lot of different trinkets like Native American bowls, jewelry. There was a lot of cowboy related stuff, so saddles, bronze statues. So it was just an eclectic mix of basically Western art and then firearms. And I believe this is more of a small auction house. And I did everything online through, I believe, HiBid, which was the proxy service that I used. A friend pointed out I was kind of in the market for I was in the market for a Lithgow rifle, not any specific Lithgow, but just an example to add to my collection. I had recently sold a German Gewehr 98M and decided, hey, I want to replace that with a Lee Enfield made in Australia in my collection. So I was looking around at different retailers, and then a buddy said, hey, look, there's this one on this Davis Brothers auction coming up at the beginning of March. And so this was a March 3rd auction. I think it was a 3-day auction. So anyway, let me unbox the rifle and kind of talk you all through the process here. First, the pictures and descriptions of the actual product were not like, they were fine. And again, this is one of those things where they didn't have pictures of the bore, so I couldn't really see if the bore was right. They had good pictures of the stamp markings, which was fine. And then, you know, there was also, I guess I could have communicated ahead of time if I wanted additional pictures, but I wasn't sure if they were actually going to fulfill that request if I did. But anyway, it was just kind of like, hey, let me just throw a bid out here and see if I can win. And I think that's sort of how a lot of people approach auctions. Now, there is a bit of a strategy to this, from what I found out. So, you know, Lithgows right now in the U.S. market go from, I think, you know, $650 to $1,000, depending on how badly you want them. So if you go on Gun Broker right now and look up a Lithgow, probably the buy now price that you're going to see on most of them is about $1,000 US, maybe 800 depending on year and condition, etc. So I went on this auction, and you know, it's one of those auctions where you're waiting probably 6 or 7 hours for your item to actually come up. Finally, after they got past all the Native American and cowboy art, they got down to the actual firearms. Mine was probably 10th, and so you join a live auction. Of course, you have to put in all your credit card information, debit card information ahead of time, set up an account with HiBid, and then you know, you can bid from there. And you're also competing with people that are actually on the auction floor. So it's a hybrid online and in-person auction. Obviously, I was not there in person. So once it got to my rifle, it started at, I think, $250, and then went up in increments of $25 and then $50. And so I think we went back and forth for maybe 60 seconds, 60 to 90 seconds. And the hammer price on it was $400, and I ended up winning that. Kind of my goal was I didn't want to spend more than I would have at like a retailer. So I said, hey, I'm probably not going to go above $500 on this if, you know, I get into a bidding war with somebody else, which is totally fine. But you know, you have to remember that once it's all said and done, there's the hammer price plus taxes and shipping, and then there's also the service fee or auction fees, which are typically 25%. And at this auction, it was 25%. So I won the item for $400. There was a 25% auction fee, so that's already at $500 right there. And then there was a $65 shipping slash tax. So that was when I got the invoice a couple days later, everything ended up being $565, which actually isn't too bad from the end of the auction to my door for a price, considering these can go from, again, $750 to $1,000. So I think I made it out pretty good. Now, the description on the rifle said it was a 1913 Lithgow, which would have literally been the year that Lithgow started producing Lee Enfields in Australia. So when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if that's really a 1913, and it looked more like a 1918 dated Lithgow. If it was a 1913 dated Lithgow, and actually that's what it was, it would have been quite rare. But no, the person at the auction house probably just misread that and put it in the description, which is still a good thing. A World War I dated Lee Enfield in 2024 is actually a pretty good catch. So once I got the invoice a couple days later, I think it was 4 days later, I went ahead and paid it. I went ahead and sent my CNR license to the person at the auction house. Now, this is kind of where I started to run into a few issues, where the lady on the customer service side, I sent her my CNR license and said, oh, you can ship it to this. And she was like, oh, sorry, we only take FFLs. And I said, oh, this must be like a new employee. He doesn't understand that like a CNR license is a type of FFL. And I said, oh, I just kind of, politely explained that, like, oh, this is my CNR FFL. You can ship it to this address, put it under my name, etc. And then she emailed me back and said, and this was actually a week and a half later, I hadn't heard anything from the auction house, which is okay. I mean, they're busy. It usually takes a month turnaround time anyway. But I messaged them probably 2 weeks later and said, hey, just wanted to confirm that you got my CNR license, because I hadn't heard anything other than that one interaction I had with them. And didn't hear anything back for a couple days. Emailed them again, and she said, oh yeah, well, sorry, we're still packing some items. We are fine with your CNR license. And then she came back a couple days later and said, oh, actually, we need your driver ID or some form of ID that matches your CNR license. I said, okay. I usually never have had that issue where like a retailer or a vendor has said, oh yeah, we need your photo ID as well as your CNR license. So I sent my driver ID along. Now, my driver's license has an old address on it from a previous house I had lived at, because we recently moved into a new place. And she said, oh, I need something that matches the exact address as your CNR license. I didn't want to tell her, I didn't want to get into an email battle with her saying that, hey, like, technically you don't, like, your CNR license, you can ship a firearm to an address that's, different from what's on your CNR license, technically, as long as you are the recipient of it, as long as you are the person that the firearm is being transferred to. I've never had a problem with, even when I'm filling out a Form 4473 with my address being different than my actual address on my driver's license. Anyway, so I sent her my CCW, which had my correct address on it. It was either that or my voter ID card, which had my address on it. But so anyway, they were like, okay, we'll ship it out in a couple days. So basically it was March 4th to the end of March now to when the firearm actually got to my house. So let's actually open up the firearm, and I'll do some less talking. Again, pretty excited. I've been wanting to add a Lithgow to my collection for a while, but there hasn't really been an opportunity to get one. I've really been focused, as you guys are aware, on my Carcano and Italian collection. So Lee Enfields are just great rifles. They're super fun to shoot. So far, the packing's pretty good. You really don't want anything wiggling around in there. Yep. I'll just throw the box over there for now. So, they packed it pretty good in this brown paper, if you guys can even hear me over the wrinkling. Just going to throw that aside for a second. Nice bubble wrap. I assume in here is the bolt, as well as some of the paperwork. So let me just cut that out for a second before we get to the rifle. Again, I'm really curious. What I was really curious about is why the rifle didn't go for higher at auction, but, it's one of those things where I haven't really bought from an auction just because I've found deals elsewhere and I haven't really needed to, but I also feel that auctions are really for people that want very specific items that they typically can't find elsewhere, or novelty items, or novelty guns, one-of-a-kind guns that you can't get elsewhere. Otherwise, most of the rifles I just purchased from a retailer. I don't have to deal with long shipping times, dealing with different auction houses. But I guess you can get good deals from time to time if you're willing to spend the time on auctions. I know lots of people just, don't have a free weekend or a free Saturday just to sit on an auction house website and watch the items go through for hours on end. So this is pretty well taped. So let's go ahead and keep cutting this. And if this is taking too long, I'll just speed it up. I will never complain about a good packing job. But this will be my third No.1 Mark III Lee Enfield. I have two British made ones. And this will be my first Australian made Lee Enfield. We are finally getting to it. Oops. Over once more, a couple more times. Oop. Okay, just sat back down, got the zip tie off of that. Let's go ahead and put the magazine in there. Let's go ahead and put the bolts in there. I just want to see it all together. Now what I'll do after this is I'm going to break it down, make sure the firing pin and the bolt works. You can also see, I guess this is the auction house inventory plate thing. I'll take that off later. I'll also need to clean it up. It's just a little, there's that cosmoline on it. Okay. First, in terms of condition, I'll give you guys sort of a wide angle look here. It's certainly refurbished. It looks like, the handguard here and the handguard here is a different color than the body stock, and it looks like there's a different type of butt stock here than there is with the body stock. You can sort of see the outline of the Lithgow plate right here. Obviously, you can see the Lithgow star, short magazine Lee Enfield. I still can't make out the date, but I'm pretty sure it's 1918 on it. And then also on the crest of the receiver here, it says 2nd Military District, which would have been New South Wales in Australia. So 2nd Military District, 1938, Australia basically broke the country into different military districts, and I think there were 5 total. New South Wales, obviously, that's where Sydney, Australia is. So I imagine after the First World War, these rifles were taken and put into rear guard or be guard duty action. Now, in terms of the actual condition of this rifle, there is some scuffing right here. The metal looks like it's chipped right here. Inside where the thumb cut is, right here, it looks like someone tried to like solder something on. Same right here. I don't know if someone at some point tried to put like a scope on this, but it looks like someone played around with the metal a little bit right here. But there's no damage to the charging bridge. I'll give you guys sort of a close-up look if you can see it right here to the crest, which is pretty neat. And then there's just other proof marks right here on the top of the receiver. But you can see the star, the Lithgow star on imprinted on different parts of the rifle. So you can see it faintly right here. I'm just kind of checking the rifle over to see if there are other noticeable marks. It doesn't look like this is matching the rest of the rifle. Now, what's interesting about this too is the bolt. Yeah, the bolt doesn't look like it's matching either. Now, it does have the Australian star on it, but it looks like this is primarily a parts rifle. Now, it does look like this stock matches the receiver, which is fine. 320. Yeah, I'm just kind of checking her out to see what's matching, what's not matching, what's missing. This also has a Lithgow star on it, so like I said, it was probably most likely a post-war refurbishment going into the Second World War, or it could have been done stateside in the United States. I'm really not sure. And I'm not entirely sure what the markings on the butt plate are. We'll have to look into that at some point as well. What's interesting there is there's two different stamps. There's a number stamp on the back right here, and then a number stamp right here. I'll kind of have to look up those markings. I know that on Australian-made stocks, they also put these pins into these stocks to just give it a little bit of extra reinforcement. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole thing apart, kind of inspect it, and then go over it once more. So anyway, this is my Lithgow that I got from the auction house, the Davis Brothers Auction in Missoula, Montana. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll do a little follow-up on what I found out about this rifle. Hey, everyone. One last thing, but I was going back and I was a little bit concerned about the crack marks on the receiver, not the crack marks, but the chip marks, as well as these welding spots on the charging bridge, in the thumb cut piece. And I went back to the actual bid description and photographs and noticed that there weren't any of these. In fact, there wasn't even a picture of this side of the receiver in the proxy bid photographs, or the high bid photographs, and there was one that overlaid the entire rifle, but it was too grainy to even see these small details. This was something that was, in my opinion, intentionally left out of the photographs and the description of the rifle. This is something that I'm not too happy with, so I left a voicemail with the auction house. Now, their auction policies say that under no circumstances do they return any items that are bought. It's at the buyer's discretion. But anyway, I left them a voicemail saying, hey, I noticed that this is on the rifle. It could be a potential problem. And it looks like it was maybe not photographed for a reason. So anyway, I'm going to hear back from them, and hopefully this will resolve the issue. But I am really not happy about that. I mean, for the amount of money you're paying for a rifle, something like a blob of welds, marks right here, chips on the receiver here, that's something that should be upfront and disclosed when you're posting photographs of a rifle. So anyway, I'll let you know when they get back to me, but I just felt that that was something that was probably a little bit dishonest in their description when posting this rifle. So anyway, I'll let you know how it goes from there.